you were looking for a beating, you've come to the right place. His phantom hand will straighten you out. Krohnen.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Krohnen guide. I had to get, arguably one of the best that I've played online so far with Krohnen. Kusa 14. Welcome on board, man.
Thank you, man. Hello everyone.
Yes, man, welcome on board. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Krohnen's normals, supers, Krohnen's normals, specials and supers. And then we're going to get into some tips and tricks. So, all right, man, take it away, man.
Sure. So Krohnen has obviously his normals, crouching A, which is actually quite fast. He's got a quite fast startup. And crouching B is a bit slower, but it got a better reach. Then he's got his down C, which is also a double hit, and it allows him to have a very low profile as well. We'll talk about it in a bit, but that's very, very useful. He also has another low profile move, which is down D. Obviously his normal stand A can be a good anti-air for jump-ins, so if you try to jump in on me. So yeah, you can, especially on hopes, right? So if you got someone coming on and trying to jump on you, that's a good way of actually trying to get them to stay away. He's standing B is okay. I haven't actually found an extremely strong use of it so far. He's got his fasting. His fasting is obviously cancelable. It's cancelable in the first few frames with a special move like this, and you can't cancel it if you leave it till the end. The only thing you can cancel it with when you leave it up to the 6th hit is with a super. So that would work, and that sort of thing. So it's a good way of actually confirming from far.
Okay.
And so he's also got his standard D. Got an okay reach, but for this character you really want to use something else like down C and far C, which has a better reach. So that's for his normals. He's got also close A, which is okay. It's good for confirming like combos. So it has a very good hit stance. So if you do down stand A, crouch B stand A, you literally have time to look and see where it's confirming, and you can confirm a little bit. See, I can actually either do it really quick, or I can actually wait and see.
Yeah, nice.
So I can actually wait a little bit and just see whether, just to confirm my next move. So that's the stand A. Stand B, again, not really useful for the character really. The stand C is really, really fast and is a good way of actually punishing people. You really want to start with a stand C into this slide, rather than actually doing crouch B into slide, for instance. So that's that, and his closed is actually an overhead. So if you actually look in, oops, sorry. Yeah,
no, that happens to me a lot as well.
So yeah, so you can actually get the overhead using this move. It's negative, and you can actually confirm it twice while you're on the ground. So it does OTG as well. We'll start with the fireball. He's only got 3 moves, right? So this character is pretty simple. In essence, he's literally got 3 moves, which is the fireball. Alright, so you got 2 versions of that. The first version, actually, if you're in the corner and try to guard, so the first one, which is the light version, has a fast startup, but you get a lot more recovery. So see here, I'm actually negative, and the heavy version actually has a slower startup, but you're positive, so he recovers better. So you see, I'm positive right there.
Yeah.
So that's the heavy version, and that's the light version. So that's it for his fireballs. Then he's got two versions of his Tatsu, which is called a sickle back kick. So again, that's something that the likes of K49 and Nimless had in the previous games, but they've changed it slightly in this one to reflect basically the game style of Krohnen. So the light version is really good to confirm any sort of hits. So because it's really good start, has a really good startup, and it goes forward quite quickly.
Yeah.
You can typically confirm like after 4 lights. Okay, that's a good way of actually confirming your combos. And then the heavy version, it doesn't actually combo into anything, right? But the thing with that move is actually positive on block and it's overhead. Right, so you see, it's an overhead move, and you can obviously confirm after that move hits on crouching opponents. So that's his version of the heavy Tatsu, and then his last move is literally his Dragon Punch. So again, you can see a pattern here. He's got 3 moves. Each move has a light and a heavy version that really defines. Some of the other characters have light moves and heavy moves that are very similar, and there is no benefit about using one other than the others, but typically for Krohnen, it's very important to know how to use both versions of the move. So his DP is good in many ways. So for characters that jump in, once it started, is actually pretty good. You can literally never jump on him if you have a really good reaction, and typically you're able to DP your opponent. You're guaranteed to hit, and for the most part, I mean from experience, and I hardly had any sort of trade with that move before. The second version is obviously the heavy version.
Yeah.
The heavy version does more damage than the light version. It has a slower startup, however, it is invincible on startup. Whereas the light version, if you're going to be waking up and trying a DP somebody, you want to go for the heavy version because the light version has no invincible frames. So the heavy, so you see here, the light version does a 75 damage, whereas the heavy version does 120. So that's essentially the difference between the two of them. Typically, when you use Krohnen and you want to try to confirm anything during a combo, you want to use the light version. The heavy version hardly hits, and you'd have to have very specific conditions for it to hit. So you'd always prioritize the light version when you do a combo. For instance, that would hit, but the heavy version wouldn't because of the startup. So that's that for his DP. Going on to his super, he has obviously the shield, right? So which is 2 sickle A, which something that's really nice, a little touch from SMK, is you can actually pull this move using the pretzel input, like in the other KOF. So if you do one, I'm gonna try actually to explain this. So it's backward, diagonal backward, half circle back, diagonal forward. So you can do the move that way, and you can also do it just regularly for people who just don't want to use the pretzel input, I guess. So it works for both his shield super and his gun super. He's got a second super, which is the gun. Also very useful, but we'll get into the details in a minute. So that's it for his supers, and then he's got his level 2s, which is literally the same input but with 2 buttons. So if I press 2 sickle, forward, A and C, it does more damage. And the difference between this version and the light version is obviously the damage input is 190 here, but Krohnen recovers a lot faster when he does his heavy version. So if I was to actually do super here and I try to OTG here, I can't. If I do excuse me. If I do the heavy version, because of the recovery, I'm able to OTG here.
Oh.
So that's essentially the two difference between those supers. And the gun version, obviously the first one has a multi-hit, and the second one has a single hit. And that single hit, you can actually charge it. And the more you charge it, the more damage you do. So I'll do it without charging here. That's a 300 damage. If I charge it a bit more, that's 380.
That's crazy.
So what you want to do is, especially when you do, we'll get into the combo section in a bit, but when you do his combos, what you want to do is make sure that you lift the opponent high enough to be able to charge his gun and do maximum damage, right?
Yeah.
So that's that for his super, and obviously you got the CLIMAX move, which is a universal move to everyone: quarter circle back, half circle forward, and TD. Nice damage output here, 392. This move is actually OTG as well. Typically, it has the same priorities as any other special CLIMAX that K49 used to have, and Nameless. They were all OTG. So it's a nice touch to keep it that way from SNK. And the second thing that you need to be aware of is typically this move in previous games such as King of Fighter. From whenever K49 came back in 2000, well, he came the first time in 2001, but ever since his actual DM dramatic move was down, forward, and then forward diagonal, and then you hit the 4 buttons A, B, C, and D. You could do the DM that way. Well, the nice touch from SNK is that they left also distinctly, so you can do it both ways. It's just something that they've actually added for veteran players who love the pretzel input, or typically his previous move sets. So that's really nice to see. So that's pretty much it for his special move. Again, like I said, this special DM is OTG, so you can get somebody on the ground and hit them anyway. So if you don't recover here, if you don't recover with A and B, I can literally look at it, see it, and confirm. So it's a good way, it's a good thing to always keep an eye on what the opponent does. So some of the opponents choose not to roll and recover because there are very, very specific situations with this character that leads to pressure situations, and what you want is sometimes you don't want to actually recover, and you want to let the opponent fail his safe jump or whatever. So just about going back into the CLIMAX, so it's a good thing to always keep an eye on what the opponent does, and if he doesn't recover, you can confirm and just get more damage that way, which is pretty cool. So that's pretty much it for his moveset.
Yeah. Shall we talk about the EX, do you reckon? Oh, his 3 EX moves.
Oh right, yeah, sorry, I forgot about that one. So his EX moves also have, so he has a fireball, so he has a fireball which puts you into a crumble state, right? And wherever you are on the screen, if you hit, you can actually confirm. You can confirm by running and doing the light tatsu, and you can just simply do the EX version of it. That also works. So, and he's got his DP. His DP does 2 hits, and he hits you vertically. So it's a good way of actually confirming some combos. So you can do DP, another DP, and 2 super. That's a pretty decent damage. 360 for 1.5 bar. Going back into his moveset, Krohnen is typically the kind of character that you want to be on people's face all the time. It's just because he is designed that way. He's not designed to zone out people. all his moves are fairly low reach, with the exception of his forward A, that goes a bit forward, and his down C, like I mentioned. But if you do it from far away, all you get is obviously quick. So you want to be on people's face the whole time, and for that reason, I mean, this is where really Krohnen strive. He's got a good confirms when it comes to light, so you can do that. So yeah, so you can. He's got a pretty good, decent amount of damage out of his light combos. There you go. Okay. Right. So this is typically his BNB. You would be doing crouching A, stand A, and then, like I explained earlier, you can confirm with that, and then do a light version again, crouching light version, which has a really good reach into his slide, and then from the slide you just do slide passive. So there you go. Then you can do DP, another DP into super. So that's typically his BNBs in the corner. About now we are in the trick section. The trick section is what you'd see that his crouching C now. The difference between this version and the beta version is his crouching C is cancelable, which is a really good thing. So and what also happens is because you cancel it, there is no pushback from it. So if you're actually in this distance, if you just stand in a little bit for a second, if you're in this distance, and you see, I get very close to you, so I can actually confirm with the DP right after.
What? So I did not know about this.
Whereas, if I do this, if I do tend to this, the character goes too far. The first hit of his crouching C has no pushback, which is really nice when you want to confirm some combo like that.
Damage.
Yeah, he's pretty good with his damage output. So the crouching C and the crouching D have a very low profile. So you think that Krohnen can't fight characters like Aiden, for instance, because of obviously he's doing his fireballs, and so if you do fireball, so he can go underneath his fireball with down speed.
Oh my god! No, wait! I did not know he could do that.
So yeah, you can do this, or you can simply do down D. Down D also goes.
What?
So, and what you can do is, if you actually, if you see that the character is about to do a fireball, you can. Well, not that. Sorry. You can
go on.
Go on. You can do that. So if you do, typically Adams does his light version when he wants to zone you out and run after. So you can actually see. You can do that and fight him that way. And that works with the EX version too. The EX version is even more dangerous because you really have plenty of time to see it.
That is crazy.
I think his slide doesn't go underneath the fireballs if you want to try. So yeah, the slide doesn't. But this move here is really low profile, right? So you can just stay in the corner if you don't want to. So you see, you can actually zone people. Oh well, you can fight zoners with his fireball, down C, and obviously down D.
So is this with all fireballs then?
This is with all fireballs with the exception of Mitaikun and King. And hence why, and this is probably a big statement, but hence why I think that Krohnen, and it's way too early to say it at this point, but Krohnen, I believe, can fight literally every character in the cast. I'm not saying that it's in his favor, I'm saying that he can fight every character with the exception of King and Mitaikun. he really struggles against them. They really have the upper hand because obviously he hasn't got any sort of reach. They've got better reach than him. They've got good zoning and they've got good anti-air. That would fight him all day long. But for the rest of it, I mean, really, Krohnen can fight anybody, I believe.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the low profile, the down C low profile is really good, to the point where if you do C 3C, 3C, yeah, 3. So it's
3.
Forward, yeah.
Oh.
So if you do 3, if you do C, diagonal C, and then Viper Cannon. You see?
Whoa.
You can fight that, and even
say low profile, is it?
Yeah, in low profile, the Viper Cannon. In low profile, so many moves. You see, like I explained earlier, because he's down C doesn't push you back. If you do Viper Cannon at this distance, see, I can actually combo. So Maximo can't really afford to through his Viper Cannon just like that anymore. We can go into specifics of other characters as well. Let's go on to King, for instance, right? Just like I explained earlier, King and Metaken are the only two characters that Krohnen can't low profile their fireballs. If you do fireball, see, that doesn't work. Even the D version doesn't work. So typically what you want to do instead is jump the fireball with a jump C. If you do jump C, you actually lift your hitbox. You got a lot less chance to actually get hit. And that goes with every fireball with Krohnen. So you want to do this.
Oh, so just hop C.
Hop C will help you literally go through every fireball. I think with the exception perhaps of Robert and
Yuri?
and Ash.
Oh, okay.
Yuri probably her charge version, yeah, but again, you can just go down with their characters. You can just do down C and go underneath it.
Okay.
So what you want to do is when the EX version of his Tatsu goes through fireballs, if you do fireball,
jeez,
you'll be able to. You can do it on reaction as well. So let's try that.
you have to be really worried about throwing fireballs against Krohnen.
Yeah, basically, again, like I feel like he can fight zoners, he can fight Athena, he can fight he can fight Ash, he can fight Aiden, he can fight literally everybody. Name it, Elizabeth, Terry, Andy, Joe as well. And most of the people think that he relies on meter, but I feel like he's a very good first actually. Because your opponent doesn't have meter either, so you can use that to your advantage to build, and he goes a lot of meter really fast with his forward A. Obviously he does a lot of pressing with that. He can be crushing, slide into fireball. That's a good way of, you know, building meter as well. So as a first, he'll be doing alright in my opinion. Alright, so let's move on to his certain tricks here from Krohnen. So Krohnen has a very good jump B, right? His jump B is one of his strongest jumping moves. So typically in the other games, right? If you think about characters like K49 and and Nameless, when they did their jumpies with the jump A and the jump C, they used to be overhead all the way through, but in this version, only the first hit actually is an overhead. So if you're crouching, let me just guard for a second. If I jump in with an A and I hit too early, so if I do this, you see you can actually guard while you're crouching. That's because they removed it's just easier for people to deal with multi-hit, and they want to make sure that if you hit the first hit, the first frame, and you want to go into crouching position, you don't get hit obviously after. So typically people would do, if you stand up and you guard standing up, and then you go into after the first hit you go into a crouching position. You see?
Yeah.
That's to avoid these type of situations, whereas before, in previous games, if you did that, you would still get hit, right? And same for his jump C version. So his jump C version is also only overhead on the first hit, so you wouldn't have to worry about crouching too early after he's jumping. Hence why I believe that Krohnen jump D and jump B and jump CD are his best move at the moment. So if you just crouch for a second, so you're in crouching position, and Krohnen actually has an overhead, a cross-up with a jump B, and that cross-up has a lot of hit stun, so you can literally just do jump B, and you can confirm with the standing C, and then you can go into a bit more damage. Like that. So that's the first bit. Obviously, Krohnen has his overhead with the heavy tattoo is something that really people need to use, but you have to be careful about the way you use it, because you are in a counter state when you do this. So let's say I do, if you guard for a second, let's say I do this into that, and you see it, you can literally heavy kick with her, and then you can do DP after, because I'll be in counter state. You see? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful about the way you use it. Obviously, you know, it's a good thing to use when you mix up people by doing that, and instead, once you just go on for the heavy version, for the overhead. So yeah, be mindful about that. So you are in a counter state, and the move is pretty slow. If you do, let me show you something that my friend Benji posted on Twitter, which was pretty nice. Is if you corner your opponent and you do backdash, right? You'll be in the perfect position to do a really good setup. So if you jump on me with a jump D, for instance. There we go.
Whoa.
That sort of thing.
What the what?
That's a third, right? That's so obviously you can only do it when your character Krohnen is on last. But even if you have a 3 meter,
Yeah.
that's a pretty good damage. So if you do this,
You want me to do it again?
try again. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I waited a bit too long.
Oh, sorry.
Oop. Let's try that again.
Oh, sorry.
Oh wait. Sorry. Like I said, the best position, the best way of actually positioning yourself for this setup is a backdash from here.
Yeah.
So let me do that again. Or you can actually, if you, you can even just go easy and just do this, right? Do it twice. So yeah, I mean, it's very, very specific, of course, but you can do things like this outside the corner if you jump on me. That's pretty decent for it's 2 bars. So that's a 2-bar combo. That's 400 damage. That's pretty decent for but you see, this particular instance, we use Shatter Strike to use the wall bounce, but Krohnen doesn't need that. Krohnen doesn't need to do this. So Krohnen has the EXDP, so if you jump on me, I can literally just do that.
Yeah.
And that's big enough, 360. So you'd be using half a meter anyway, but you are safer by doing EXDP as opposed to the Shatter Strike. So if you do Shatter Strike a bit too late, for instance here, if you jump, see, I get countered. And you can even guard, I think. See? So if I do it a bit late, you have time to... So it's a bit tricky, especially when people are actually hopping on you. So I guess that's it for the for this section. I just wanted to show this little nice little combo in the corner.
Nice, man. Well, I guess we'll be moving on to the other characters then, because I think that's it for Krohnen, right?
Right. Yeah. Basically, he's a very simple character to use. He may feel like sometimes he's an autopilot, but it's because his normals allow him to carry his neutral game a little bit in this game, I feel. And again, he's really good in any position. You can start with him as a first. You can do pretty good, decent with him, fighting probably, again, 95% of the cast. You can use him as a second. Once you build the meter, he becomes even scarier because of obviously the DXVP, the super, that sort of thing. Maybe we should just do a real quick one explaining that, you know, you can do, one of the combos that you can do is a DP into the gun, so you can charge the gun. You can charge the gun while the character is actually on his way down, and you just release it when he's down to the correct level. So that's typically, you know, the combo you want to go for when you have 3 bars, for instance.
Nice.
Right,